very warm welcome to this webinar on balancing the personal and professional life. My name is Pankaj Gupta. I am president of IIHMR University, Jaipur. We are the top university in the area of healthcare, public health, hospital and health management, pharmaceutical management, and development studies. And we have been set up 35 years back. And we are pioneer in the area of research in public health. And with me, we have got two eminent management gurus with me. We have Dr. Himanshu Rai. He is the director of IIM Indore, and he is an alumnus from IIM Ahmedabad and has been a professor in IIM Lucknow and MISB Bakuni, he was a dean, and also in SDA Bakuni, he was a full professor, and many distinction he has, and his videos and talks, like many young students, they always keep downloading in their mobile phone, and they keep listening and following him like a great role model. And then we have another great global management guru, Dr. Metri. He is the director of IIM Trichy. So Dr. Metri has also worked in many top institutions, including MDI, IMI, and he has been a great institution builder. And he is also known as somebody who has created the whole system of values and ethics coming in the management education space. He has been the chairman of the board of management in the AICT, and he was the one who started the whole curriculum around the values and ethics education in the Indian management space. So I'm very personally thankful to both of you for joining this webinar. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
So now, thank you. So as we all know that this debate has been always ongoing, that work-life balance, and people have different kind of expression about work-life balance in a normal situation. We know that there are people who say, oh, TGIA, who thank God it's Friday. That means they are looking forward to the weekend and the Monday morning blues, and so on. And then there is a talk that how much you should devote on work, how much on the life. So that means the life is different and work is different. And then there were issues that the employer has to do something to do this balancing. And then also there was a question that whether it is to be done by the employer or it is to be done by the individual choice as such. And then we have seen that with this COVID, there are different kind of challenges when people are there in the lockdown. So within the lockdown, they are at the home, and then there is no fixed hours for work, and then people are just the mail can come anytime, then sometime you have to see the urgency, reply. So people are just there, and also different kind of issues are there. Sometimes you are facing the family, you're not able to go out, so it is also creating different kind of situations at home. So we'd like to discuss about these things and what is the impact it is creating and what is the way forward. So that is our broad agenda for the webinar. So firstly, I would like to come to Dr. Himanshu, that what is his view about this work-life balance and what does he see the situation in this lockdown period. So over to you, Dr. Himanshu.
Yeah, thank you, Pankaj. Thank you very much for inviting us here. Now, work-life balance is a very majorly researched term, and it has a lot of roots in organizational behavior literature, as well as literature in other distinct streams as well. But for me, work-life balance is a completely different thing. And I'm sure that many of my colleagues are going to frown upon me for what I'm going to say, because for some reason, I have not been able to wrap my head around this entire concept of work-life balance, for the simple reason that I'm not too sure that in today's day and age, and for that matter, any time, When you go from work to your home, do you leave your work behind completely? And likewise, when you go from home to work, do you leave your home behind completely? You don't. So I think what I believe in more, and this is what I would like to talk about, is being mindful, which means stay in the here and now instead of trying to achieve this bird called work-life balance as to how you can give. People talk about giving quality time to your home affairs, to your family, etc., and giving quality time to your work. I think in today's world and age, and with the kind of work that we do, this may not. This may all be like a chimera. We simply chasing some kind of a mirage. What we can do is be mindful of where we are and make sure that we give our complete focus and attention. So personally, since yoga is the thing that works for me, and I also practice and teach yoga, they say yoga karmasu kaushalam. So the meaning of yoga is that whatever you are doing, do it with a lot of attention. Usko kushalta se karo. And therefore, whether you are at home or whether you are at work, you should be present in the there and then. You should be present in the here and now and try to focus and concentrate on those issues. Now, this becomes extremely tricky when both your home and office are at the same place, like what we are facing today because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And therefore, what you have to be more careful about is that the here and now should not get mixed, which means that you should have a designated time to work, you should have a designated place to work, and you should have a designated method with which you communicate to your workplace. And so long as you can focus on your work while you're at work or while you are in that designated time, and so long as you can focus on the other family affairs or other affairs of your home, etc., while you're dealing with them, I think you have achieved the balance in your life. Don't try to chase a particular state of mind where you think that you can completely take away all the thoughts of home when you're at your workplace and all the thoughts of your workplace while you're at home. But just be mindful of what you're doing. It's almost like breathing. You know, a lot of people think that breathing is something that comes naturally. No, we have to practice breathing. And the more you practice breathing, which is what the entire study of pranayama is all about, the better you keep getting at that, the deeper breaths you take. And breath is a lifeline. So likewise, the more mindful, the more focus, the more concentration you can give to the work at hand, you will achieve that balance, whatever it is that you may want to call it.
I think very nicely explained, Dr. Himanshu, and it is a very, very powerful statement. But actually, what happens when you look at it in a very practical way? It looks very nice that then you can say that this is a time, this is a space where I will work. But you know, sometimes the demand of the office and organization is such. Even if you get some mail, even late in the evening or something, you tend to attend that. And many times your spouse and other people in the family who are also equally stressed. Uh, I've been given to understand that there are some data that the cases of domestic violence and those things are very much on the rise because people are just get used to deal with the same people, and so a lot of things they come up which are sometimes hidden because you are somewhere going here and there, people are also going here and there. So what is your view? Like, how will you say that these issues can be addressed in a better way, Dr. Himanshu? And then I
Okay.
will come to Dr. Metri.
Yeah, so I think we have brought in a completely different issue where we are talking about the domestic violence cases. Now, domestic violence cases have gone up while the lockdown is on. And I think it may be a very simplistic way for us to think of it as an issue where the work-life balance is getting violated, or we may not be able to give more time to people in the family. Uh, I have this feeling that the issue is probably that we are locked up with people who we are not used to seeing for such long periods. So that is one. And the second is we have always made this assumption that everyone in the family likes everybody else, which may not be really true. And therefore, the cases of domestic violence which are coming in, all of these cases, obviously, they are rooted in unequal power. So clearly, when we are talking about domestic violence, we are not talking about violence against men, violence against males, but we are talking about violence against women. and it comes from unequal power. So what we need to be mindful of is that we need to, first of all, try and build bonds while we are there in the family. Because a lot of, I keep telling my students, for example, most of them have stayed away from home after their class 12, they've stayed in a hostel or something. They don't know their parents very well in that sense. Likewise, their parents don't know them in the sense, they knew them probably when they were adolescents and when they were teens, but they have not seen them. They have not seen them grow beyond that point, except meeting them during the holidays and all. And likewise, even if you have a partner at home, maybe you earlier did not find time to look at those little idiosyncrasies of your partner, which may be now becoming a matter or source of annoyance to you. So I think this is the time for you to strengthen the familial ties, to actually try and understand your family members better, be it your partner, be it your children, or be it whoever it is that you are at home with, and then have some kind of a sensitivity. Understand that all of us are very, very different. All of us approach our work, all of us approach our families, all of us approach our relationships in very, very different ways. And it'll be extremely unwise of either of us to state that one correct way of maintaining or strengthening those relationships. But what we can say is that if you can develop empathy towards each other, if you give more time to listen to what the other person has to say about anything, about be it a work related issue, or be it a home related issue, or be it a relationship related issue, we need to first understand that, be sensitive, and then also understand that very often when we have these kind of conversations, people tend to think that if a person is telling me something, he or she is looking for a solution or an answer. And this is something that I would suggest everyone to be extremely mindful of. No, not at all. Simply because somebody is sharing something with you does not necessarily mean the person is looking for a solution or an answer. The person probably simply wants you to hear the person out, hear the other person out. And a lot of
Exactly.
problems arise because in relationships we believe, and men try to play that particular role of being the solution provider as against being that active listener. So I think one of the things that we should try and develop is listen actively, and listen to understand rather than listen to respond to others.
Very good. I think it is very, very, these are really golden words that not just, listening to respond, but, just listening and absorbing and, trying to understand what a person, what is the real intent actually, what the people want to say. And Himanshu, I also heard one of your video where you were sharing that even the acceptance is the key. The more you accept the situation, the resistance goes away, and then this related struggle also goes away in that consequence. So I'd like to
Absolutely.
go now, yeah. So I'd like now to come to Dr. Metri ji. So Dr. Metri, what would be your view on this whole issue of work-life balance and its current situation in the time of lockdown? How do you look at that? And especially you are in the southern area. So do you think that is there any difference in the pattern in the north or in the south? What is your view on that?
I think, Pankaj, this work-life balance, as Professor Himanshu rightly said, one is the OBHR definition is different, but it is all about what you do and what you enjoy. So, and while doing that, you have to be as a holistic human being. How do you balance everything? So, if you really want to know the definition of work-life balance, we have to go back few hundred years back, or when the kings used to be there, or agriculture economy was there. If you go back to the agriculture economy, so in those days, people have boundaries for everything. For expectation, there was a boundary, and locally produced, locally consumed, and not dependent on the neighboring village. Forget about the Tehsil and district. So people were extremely happy, and whatever the limited they used to get, they used to enjoy happily, live together. And particularly, every village was a Ramraj in those days. So that was a real balanced life, I must say, because in those days, if you look into that, everybody's expectations were boundaries, and today unexpected boundaries for each and everyone. We
Hmm.
expect more and more, and then obviously the imbalance or balance will become imbalance, and as a part of it, the boundary between professional and personal life is getting blurred. So in this kind of today, and if you go back 100 or even 40 years back when I was a child, so if you look at that, there is a huge change, huge accelerated change has happened, and because of that, we are all marching towards the materialistic life, and the boundary between professional and personal has almost, it is closer, or it is, there is no boundary at all. So particularly in professions like IT industry or leadership roles, so you are there for 24/7. Now in this kind of environment, what happens? To gain something, you lose something. So if you really want to balance, then probably you have to put the boundary and you have to set the target and your KRA such a way that you will be having everything, but not excellent in each and every one. So in such kind of environment, probably it was there and now it is disappearing. And today's technology, IT technology or mobile technology or digital technology, basically pushing us for higher and higher target. And we are all marching towards that. And as a part of that, we have missed the work-life balance. But if you look at the COVID-19, it is not only threat, but it is a super threat. But this super threat is basically reshaping the world. It has taught us a lot, and it is not only this threat will come and go. Many such threats may also come in future, and this kind of pandemic may also become a commonplace in coming future. But this is what the future we are not interested to live in. So if this kind of things, if you really want to face how to enjoy the life, how to balance the life, so in this kind of situation, I must say basically this is a great opportunity. COVID is a great opportunity to connect with your people, because in this highly connected world, digital world, we are connected with unknown people we never met, but we are connected through LinkedIn, social media, Twitter, all those things. But in this highly connected world, we are totally disconnected with our families, friends, relatives, even our villages, our native places. So now this is the right time to reconnect through various digital technologies and establish the relationship, refresh the relationship. So this is what one can look the impact of this lockdown. And this is basically taking us to few decades back. What was the life in India? Probably that was the more balanced, that was more connected one, that was more affinity and love kind of relationship. So probably that will happen. This kind of epidemics basically forcing us to go back and refresh and reconnect with the people.
Very beautiful, very nice. And also you are very well connected with the past, the legacy of India, and also the same lot of ancient wisdom also you have tried to incorporate in the management curriculum. So I think it is very, very profound thinking. And one thing was also just coming to my mind was that it also depends that how you look at the work as such. That work for you, is it a matter of fun? Is it a matter of excitement? Or it is a matter of, oh my God, another day. Uh, that is where you will look for, that, oh my God, oh thank God it's Friday or Monday morning blues. But there is a possibility when you are working with your Swabhav to Swadharma, and then you are totally there. What Himanshu you were sharing about mindfully right now, because there was a study by the Harvard School of Public Health that how much time people are living in the moment, in the present. That percentage was very less. That was only 18%, and they came out with an idea that you are living either in the regret of the past or anxieties about the future. So the whole of the excitement and the uh, greatness about living in the now is just gone away. So what I would like to say that how you look at the work, because suppose your child is there, even if you wake up in the night for him or for her, you won't mind. It is all about your own relation with the work. If you really love your job, you feel excited about doing the job, then there is no such thing about the work-life balance, because what you're doing, you're really loving it. rather than you're doing in some compulsion, looking at your watch, oh my God, my 8 hours are over, now I should get bonus and this and that. So in one of the articles I have seen, I think Himanshu ji had mentioned the role of a Karma Yogi. So how he handles, and another IIM director, Dr. Devashish, has written a book, Invincible Arjuna. There also he has mentioned the same idea. So I'd like to ask Himanshu ji if he can throw some light on that. There is a Nishkam Karma, and how this can almost may not need that kind of balancing, but you are in a blissful stage all the time. And what kind of role the yogic techniques and mindfulness can also play, so that you are on the top of every at every time and not feeling any kind of a victim mindset. So what is your view on this, Himanshu?
That's a very deep question, Pankaj, and I wonder if I'll be able to do justice in a webinar and in such a short time. But nonetheless, I'll tell you what it means to me, and possibly if that resonates with some of the people who are listening to me over here, I would be happy to take those questions later, either here or in some other forum. So one of the things I've always told people is that if you want happiness for a lifetime, either do what you love, or failing that, start loving what you do. And there are two perspectives to that. Number one is, and this is something that I've said on multiple fora, but I don't mind repeating it, is where do you derive your identity from? What do you derive your identity from? Who do you think you are? What is your identity? First thing that we all need to do is understand ourselves. So for example, when you introduced me, you said this is Himanshu, the director of IIM Indore. And if somebody asks me that, who are you? And I say, I'm Himanshu, the director of IIM Indore, I'm trying to derive my identity from something which is very, very superficial. Why? Because it's my designation. The problem with this is that if you do this often enough, there are chances that you might start associating your sense of self-esteem and self-worth with it as well. And the day you start associating your self-esteem and self-worth with the designation that you have, you're falling into a trap, because the day the designation goes, so will your sense of self-respect and self-esteem. So for example, if I start deriving my sense of self-respect and self-esteem from my position as the director of IIM Indore, this position is going to go away after exactly 3 years and 8 months. I'm not a director forever. I wouldn't want to be a director forever, but that's besides the point. I'm not a director forever. It's a 5-year tenure. And therefore, when somebody close to me asks me, who are you? I say, I'm a teacher, or I say, I'm a mountaineer. Because these are the two things from which I draw my real passion from. These are the two things from where I draw my true identity from. And I'm the happiest when I'm in a classroom, or when I'm speaking in a situation like this. You wouldn't find me so happy, Pankaj and Professor Metri, when I'm in my director's office. That time I usually have a frown on my face, because I have to sign many papers, some of which I do not wish to sign. And of course, both of you are well aware of the kind of stuff that we have to do, which we may not like to do. But be that as it may, teaching is what brings me joy, or climbing mountains is what brings me joy. So we have to figure out. You mentioned that word Swadharma. That's been the axiom of my life, Pankaj. So many people have asked me, what is Swadharma? And to me, Swadharma is very simple. Swadharma is that one thing which gives you joy, that one thing which you are very good at. And therefore, by virtue of it being something that you're very good at and it brings you joy, it becomes your responsibility to make sure that you do that in your life and do it excellently. Excel in that particular thing. And the second part about the Nishkam Karma, I mean, that is something that I have always. Gita is my favorite book. So predominantly, I like Sanskrit literature and English literature, and Sanskrit is my favorite, one of my favorite languages as well, and I speak that language. And the thing that I derive from Gita, and I've always considered Krishna as the biggest karma yogi, for the simple reason that he actually lived in this world and then continued to be Nishkam and a yogi about the entire thing. So he was unattached, he was detached while living here. It's very easy to go live in some kind of a cave in the Himalayas, meditate, but I don't have much respect for those people. I'm sure that they're doing something great, but they're not contributing to the universe according to me. And also, I don't think as to how is it very difficult. I mean, if you have nothing to do and if you're in a cave, you can obviously be mindful of whatever it is that you are engaged in. But when you are living here, when you are living on this earth, when you are also carrying out your earthly duties, when you're also carrying out your life and you are in the bondages of your relationship, if there you can be detached. And by being detached, what I mean is don't do something for the sake of what you will get out of it. Do it because it's a right thing to do. So, for example, as a parent, don't take care of your child. I'm sure that some of people who are listening to us would be parents. Don't take care of your children so that they will take care of you when you become old. Do it because it's a right thing to do. Likewise, to all the youngsters out there, don't look after your parents so that they will leave your name on the will when they pass away. Do it because it's a right thing to do. So when you start doing things because they're the right things to do and not for the sake of what you're going to get out of it, that's what makes you a Nishkam Karmi Yogi.
Very nice. Thank you, Himanshuji. It was really very powerful. What would be your view, Dr. Metri? Because you created the whole new stream of the ethics. And so do you see that the people who are following path of ethics and, and many times we have seen that the values are not taught, they are caught. And many times we see that the parenting, effective parenting is only a way that how you live your life, not like living a life which is miserable and you say that I'm doing this kind of sacrifice for you. If you want to teach love to your children, you be the love. And we also have learned that it is not about the doing and having, but what is the being part. So what would be your view on these points, Dr. Mehtri?
Yeah, Pankaj, I before this I would like to answer part of the earlier question. Professor Himanshu very nicely, I
Please,
think,
sir, please.
narrated. So one part, you do what you love, and then there is no question of balance and all. But if you see, being a professor of operations management, I used to teach a course called Principles of Management, and we used to refer a book called Karjuner, Project Management book. So Karjuner, he mentioned when the space structure, the research in space started, and people started, it was a new field, and many scientists they started working on that. And after working for long, they were so much involved, engaged in that research project, and then they started staying in the site itself, and they started working. And later on, they not only started staying months and years together, they forgotten their families. And at that time, many diverse cases happened during that period because they loved too much to their profession, their project too much, and they forgotten the family. Family suffered and they took a divorce. That is what he mentioned in his book. This is one part. So it is loving and what you are doing. This is one part. Too much of anything is not too good. This is one aspect. Second one, if you look at the even Steve Jobs, when he was on his deathbed, he said, I achieved everything. I did everything. I have tons of money, everything. But now I am in on my deathbed. Now I cannot transfer this, whatever the pains I am facing, to anybody else. I have to face this. So that is why he said work-life balance. It is extremely important. This, whatever the car, the property, the money, it is not going to help. But maintaining the good health and maintaining the good balance of life and also longevity, all those things are extremely important than focusing any one thing. So these are the two examples. Just I want to quote these Karjaner book as well as this Steve Jobs. So I think if you look at the Gautam Buddha, he suggested middle path. So that is why sometimes in some occasion these things also extremely important. Or even if you look at the Einstein, so Einstein was a great scientist, but if you look at his family life, it was not balanced. So what I want to say is, it is all about if you do progress or in one particular area, extremely good and well named everything, the other part there is a suffering. So that is why this work-life balance or balancing or loving what you are doing, those things probably one has to again redefine, rediscover, and revisit so that happiness not only your side, it also has to come those who are connected and related to you. So these two together, I think, my view is one has to see together as a family, as a relation, as a people connected with you. So all together, how happily they are there, and at the same time you are achieving your goal and you are loving what you are doing or you are passionate what you are doing. So this is one aspect of that earlier question. And now I think it is about ethics and value and being. I think, in the model curriculum, you see our curriculum earlier, it was mostly drawn from the West, and we considered West as the best. But now we realized it is no more true. So that is why when designing the model curriculum in 2017, we contacted 150 industry people and many professors, alumni, industry leaders. And then after talking to all of them, it is realized that we have never taken into account the best practices available locally. And similarly, we also not looked into the wealth of knowledge, management or management history available in the country. It was never utilized to train our people. That is another aspect we looked into that. Because today, what is happening, we completely following the western path, and that is how, if you see, if you go back a little bit, maybe 100 200 years back, look at Chhatrasal, look at Shivaji, look at Cholas, all these kings, they became a great kings. Shivaji was a great strategist. Now how he became a great strategist, great leader as a king, or even Chola, Rajarajeshwar Chola, king of kings, how he became great. But if you go back and see, then you realize Shivaji's mother used to teach Ramayana, Mahabharata, all those Puranas, all those Vedas, and because of those teaching and learning from the the parents and grandparents, and particularly in our time when I was the kid, our grandparents used to tell all those things, and because of that, the contextual leadership is built in the DNA of Indians, which is not available anybody else in the world. But Indians are extremely good as a contextual leader. So that is a great leadership. Contextual leader means it is a sixth sense leadership. How you did it, we can't explain. It is like a electricity. You can see the light, but how you can't see the electricity. Same way, in Indian leadership, a contextual leadership, which is basically there in the DNA of Indians. And that is how today, if you look at the companies like Microsoft or Google or IBM or even GMAT, or if you go for Deloitte, any company in the world, or any top leaders, academic leaders in America, even in Singapore. So all are Indians, because where there are no roads, you have to create a road, and you have to be a role model. So when the context shifts, when the contexts are changing, today's digital world, today's I can say in this digital economy, the contexts are shifting very often because of the disruption. Every disruption brings the new context, and in this new context, the Indians are the best as a leader. Today Satya Nadella is considered as one of the best sense maker in the world. So because they are best contextual leaders, and that opportunity has come for India because of the whether it is a COVID-19 disruption or digital disruption, leadership is now moving all over the world towards India, and Indians are going to lead, whether it is a business, whether it is academics. We are going to lead because we are good at contextual. And Western world, all of they're best at the concept, they're best at the models. So they will put everything into SWOT analysis or BCG matrix or 7Ks, 4Ps, or something like that. They put everything into model analysis, all those things. But in firefighting, context is nothing but a firefighting. Firefighting situation, Indians are the best. And that kind of learning, leadership teaching, we have to give to our students. And that is where we thought the Indian ethos and business ethics as a one compulsory course you introduced in the model curriculum. I am sure the best examples, the Indian cases like Akshay Patra, ITC Chopal, and Tata businesses, even L&T, all those great stories of our Indian great leaders are taught into our business schools, so that we can create more contextual leaders. And today context is like flowing water. because roles are changing. If you look at the people's role, earlier, what we used to do, one right from beginning to till retirement, we used to do the same job. Today, every 3-4 years, the roles are changing. Today, maybe in future, schools are taught by the robots, and teachers role will change, and they may shift, hand holding and coaching the students to learn better. So this is how roles are changing, and that is why Accenture coined the word liquid workforce. So today, workforce is liquid, future is fluid. Strategy is also going to be fluid, because 15-year, 20-year strategy is not going to work, because digital technology is changing very fast, disruption is coming very fast, contexts are changing very fast. So that is how a fluid leadership or context leadership is going to rule the world, and they are going to be the winners, they are going to be the successful. And that is how this stories of all Indian companies, Indian organization, even old kings and Chanakya Nitis, they are all going to help to build the contextual leadership, so that they can be a great being as a leader, or leaders of leaders like Rajarajeshwar Chola or Chhatrasal. Best governance system of Chhatrasal, I think, I am sure Professor Himanshu will agree. So today it is not exist. Even if you go to Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, the kind of drainage system, the kind of civil work, the kind of culture yet to come. Today we are talking about drone cars are monitoring most of the COVID, all those activities, cases and all. But you see, Pushpaka humans were there, and today we are talking about, tomorrow we are seeing about driverless cars, and future will be flying cars. They are nothing but Pushpaka humans, and which if we see the Indian history, it was already there. So that is where our culture and system and value system was more advanced than what today we are. Even if I'm sitting here, Trichy, if you go to the Tanjore big temple, that temple nobody can replicate. No technology, today's technology, digital technology, or no architecture skill cannot replicate that, or cannot replicate Taj Mahal, because they were more advanced than us, and those things we have forgotten to teach. In between, we even Britishers left, but we continue to use British and American education system. But today, I think, thanks last 3-4 years now, we have moved away, and we are teaching many of the Indian part as a cases, as a courses. I am sure in coming years, Indian management will be taught every part of the world, because when Japan was the leading economy, entire world started teaching Japanese management. And coming 5 to 10 years, India is going to lead the world. And today also, in COVID kind of environment, India established a strong leadership as a number one leader or prime minister. I'm sure coming 5 to 10 years, Indian management will be taught the rest of the world like Japanese management. So that is how in the model curriculum we introduce all those concepts, and even though some textbooks are missing, but I must say these are available in the form of basically in Sanskrit. And unfortunate part is Sanskrit is taught in some universities and all, but we have wealth of knowledge. हमारे पास तिजोरी है, but उसका key हमारे पास नहीं, because Sanskrit is not taught everywhere. If you look at the Tirukural in Tamil Nadu, Tirukural, every problem, business problem in the world is having a solution in Tirukural. There are hundreds of Tirukurals, but that is in old Tamil. But even people, those who study Tamil, old Tamil is entirely different than the current one. So these languages we could have been taught to the child, and probably in future we train in this, and people can read the Sanskrit, and luckily, Professor Himanshu is extremely good at Sanskrit, and like that we need to create a leaders like him, so that we can make use of all the ancient knowledge, and we can create a value based leaders and contextual leaders or fluid leaders, so that they can rule the world.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was so powerful, and you reminded us about our roots and our glorious past, and right from the time of Tanjavur temples to the Pushpak Vimana, and really so delightful. And the thing which you also shared about the desires, I think, and their role in connected with the ethics, that also is very powerful. And I think the Western model, which is more driven by the externalities, that go external, the solution lies somewhere outside. While in Indian system, we have always seen it is all within. And I'm happy to share with you that we have launched many innovative courses in our university, like the ancient wisdom for modern management, uh, mindful leadership and self-awareness, money to meaning. So these kind of courses already we have. The Seva Bhav course, because my students go and manage big hospitals. So the kind of inner Seva and where they can feel that the light, the divine light is already within them, or the Noor, or whatever you want to say, and they can relate. And not only just connecting that I, me, my family, but family and I can still be at the center, but not the boundary of your love. So these kind of things we keep imbibing through a lot of experiential mode and so on. So I believe that the kind of thing we were discussing earlier, that in the balancing the professional and personal world, one thing which is very, very important is about your own inner worth, that who you think you are. I think that also determines a lot that how you're going to react, especially in unknown situations. So if you're happy and satisfied with your own self, you'll also be naturally doing well in the job, will also be loving and forgiving and adjusting with your family as well. So I have seen the role of inner techniques like the meditation, yoga, pranayam, mindfulness. I have also been following meditation for a long time, like what Himanshu does. I saw that he's doing Asana one day and putting it on his YouTube channel, and so many followers he has. So I'm not doing, that kind of very great hatha yoga as what he is able to do, but I do practice the pranayama and also the meditation every day, and that brings a lot of inner calm and peace within us. Because this COVID, where while we are sitting in the lockdown, we this also gives an opportunity to know that running, are we really running in the right direction? And while to know is the direction right or not, and secondly, while you are running, are you restless all the time, or are you restful in that way? I've always seen that when you are restful and when you are cool and composed, you are able to take much better decisions, and you are much more productive to yourself as well as to the whole world. So this is what I just thought to share. And I've seen that even for the money also, like somebody has been too much over dependent and getting so much of intoxication that I should get this and then get that. That also the root cause is sometimes that they feel that there is something missing inside. So with this kind of vidya, you also know that what is real and what is unreal. And if you go deep into even the ancient philosophy, you will see that anything which cannot be taken away from you, only that is your real dhan, and that is the real vidya. And a lot of discussion has taken place on the vidya, what is a vidya and what is a avidya. And there was a thing, that sa vidyata vimukta, that the vidya which is going to liberate you. But many times we discuss mainly about the avidya part more. Maybe we can say that talking about the blockchain or big data. So they may be hot today, but may not be hot tomorrow. So, but once you know yourself and when you start living a life, as Himanshu ji was sharing, that you start living with your Swabhav and Swadharma, then there is no struggle at all. And when you're living mindfully, then each and every moment is a moment of joy, because you know that this very moment will never come back again. So you will relish each and every moment. And also the others who are around you, maybe they will get upset. Maybe with your love, which is radiating from you, you can help them. Rather than if somebody is throwing negativity at you during those tough times, you also get swayed away. So all these things are also very, very important. So before we take questions, I'd like to just take views of both of you. That do you have any solution? Do you have any prescription, like the people who are still facing this kind of imbalance and who are agitated, what they should do? What is your solution? Firstly, Himanshu ji, and then I will come to Metri ji.
So, Pankaj, I'm extremely loath to give normative statements in the sense saying that, okay, this is the solution and this is the best solution, so on and so forth. Because I think for all of us, there is a different thing that works. So while I keep talking about yoga as something that works for me, by no means am I ever going to make a claim that yoga is the ultimate and that is what all of you should be doing. It works for me. Probably it may not work for somebody else. So what you have
Right.
to find out are your own answers. So for example, I know of many friends of mine, I don't enjoy running. I'm not a runner. I like walking, and I'm a trekker and a mountaineer. I like climbing. But those of many of my friends who are into running, they find a very deep spiritual feeling and a very deep spiritual experience when they're running. And they say, once you go beyond 3 or 4 kilometers and you're running, you get into that space where your mind is completely still and where you are with yourself. You can actually observe your body. You can actually observe your 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 sense of taking a breath in. You can observe your breathing, so on and so forth. So what I would suggest is, first of all, figure out what works for you. Don't try to figure out what works for other people. And it's the same thing when it comes even to choosing careers, or choosing things that you like to do. For example, I think day before yesterday, I was speaking at another webinar, and I said I have absolutely, if let's say after doing an MBA, somebody decides to join an NGO or starts doing something what we call social work, I wouldn't put that person on a moral pedestal. All you need to do is do whatever makes you happy. If making piles of money and sleeping on it makes you happy, do so by all means, but make sure that you're getting real joy out of it, and you're not doing it simply because it is going to make somebody else happy, or it is going to make somebody else jealous or unhappy. So do it because it gives you joy. Because remember one thing, achievement and fulfillment are two completely different things. You might
Right.
get a sense of achievement if you make a certain amount of money, if you drive a certain kind of a car, and if you live in a certain kind of a house, but it may not give you fulfillment. And you might be fulfilled, you might feel fulfilled simply because of the joy of giving something to somebody. So I would say, work on your dreams, work with whatever works with you. And the final thing, you mentioned one of those things, but then it got lost in the subsequent conversations. And that is an extremely important point, Pankaj. A lot of people try to live in the past. Never carry baggages from the past. Because when you carry baggages from the past, they will lead only to two things. One of the two things. Either they will lead to a lot of sadness because of what you would believe you could have done and did not end up doing, or it would leave you with a lot of hatred because of whatever you think was done to you by other people. So don't carry your baggages from the past. I know it's easier said than done. And you would say, hey, very easy for you because you practice yoga, so on and so forth. No, it's not easy for anybody. It is not easy for anybody. But you should mindfully try to let go of the past. And by that, what I mean is forgive people. Forgive people. It may be difficult for you to forget what they have done to you, if at all somebody has done you wrong, but it's not so difficult to forgive them. And by forgiving them, what I mean is move on. Don't look at the person, look at the issue that was there. Look at the subject matter on which you people had an issue and for which you think the person needs to be blamed for having done something to you. Try to sort that issue in your head and then move on. That carrying any kind of baggage from the past is only going to weigh you down. And likewise, don't worry too much about the future because, like Professor Metri pointed out, it is unpredictable. I mean, Professor Metri, just on what you said, I used to find it extremely bizarre when in an interview, people would ask you questions like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? That to me is such a bizarre question. I have absolutely no idea where I see myself 5 years from now. But what I can tell you is what I would probably still continue to love 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 15 years from now. So, for example, day before yesterday, Nat Geo released a movie on one of my favorite heroes. Her name is Jane Goodall. And Jane Goodall, she's a primatologist, world's best known primatologist. She started working with the chimpanzees at the age of 16. Now she's 84 and she still continues to work with them with the same joy and with the same passion. And the film had a very poignant ending where the interviewer asked her, how long are you going to carry doing this? And her answer is, till the day I die. Now, that to me is the ultimate truth. That to me is someone who's not carrying any baggages from the past, though she had to go through a lot of tribulations, given that it happens to be a man's world, and she was doing things in a man's world, and that too with private, etc., which nobody thought very seriously about. And not even worrying about the future. She's not saying that, okay, at this point of time, for example, a lot of people say, I'm going to retire at the age of 45 or 50 and then start doing whatever it is that I like to do, which to me is pretty bizarre. You should be doing right now, and you should be doing that every day, and you should be doing that till the day you die. But the only thing is that answer will not come from me. That answer will come from you, and all of you will have to look within and then figure out what is it that works for you.
Thank you so much, Himanshu. It was so powerful and really appreciate it. Thank you. And Metri ji.
Yeah, I think as Professor Himanshu rightly said, it is different for different people. You know, solution, there is no one formula. You look at the farmers, they need not to do yoga, they need not to run. But morning, early in the morning, 4 o'clock to maybe up to 5, 6 o'clock they work. That is more than enough to, all the exercise, yoga, all the meditation kind of things. So what profession you are, and accordingly certain things work for some people. So depending upon the service and the farming and again entrepreneurs, so different people have different kind of set of rules will be applicable, and they can accordingly they can enjoy, they can balance. And but definitely nevertheless, whether it is yoga, whether it is working with full concentration, helps us to make a right decision. So decision making through meditation, yoga, I'm sure this is one of the important input for a great making, and this will help each one of us. But
Okay.
different people have to do different according to their profession.
Okay. So that means according to your own prakriti, accordingly you decide what
Yeah,
exactly you would like to do.
right.
Nowadays, different people are actually using different things, and it is very nicely shared by Himanshu and also by you. And when Himanshu ji was also sharing about not clinging to the past, and I'm getting reminded to Buddha what Maitri ji said about following the middle path. And Buddha also said one very interesting thing. He said that when you're given the eyes, then see. When you're given the ears, then hear. And what happens generally, that you see from the eyes, but actually you see from your mind. And in the same way, you hear something, but you don't hear, but you know what is already stored in your mind. That is what you hear. So he prescribed the system of start with a beginner's mind. So that also is part of the meditative practices where you stop, giving those judgments and just be there and witness like a sakshi bhav and just be there around. And also another thing which I would like to say that the difference between illness and wellness is only difference of I and we. So when we not just focus on all the time I, but to we, then illness convert into wellness. So I think we have done a very interesting discussion, and a lot of people have also asked some questions. So if you allow, we can also take a few questions.
Yeah, we have another 5 minutes, I guess. We can take some
Okay,
questions.
okay. A lot of questions are already there. Dr. Naveen has asked question that my workstation is popularly known as extended family, where we share our not only professional issues but also personal matters. Since we are in the lockdown and missing the presence, we are missing society to interact and purge our emotions. So how to keep ourselves with balanced on emotions, social, psychological, and spiritual grounds? Please, Professor Himanshu, throw some light on it. So what do you, Himanshu? Though you have already shared, but
So, Naveen, I'll again tell you what works for me, because as I said, I do not find myself capable, I'm not expert to give psychological counseling. I do tend to give it, but that's simply because my surname happens to be Rai, and people have taken that surname very seriously. They expect me to give a Rai on everything. But coming to your question, there's nothing which can probably replace completely a bonding that you can have with a human being, for the simple reason that a human being also has the capability not just of empathizing with you, but also of being with you and responding to you should you expect a response. In the absence of that, what I would suggest is that you can either start writing, because I found writing to be an extremely creative expression, if at all you don't have anybody to speak to. Reading, now you might find it a little weird as to how reading helps in such cases, but reading to me is actually having a conversation with people of a different era and in a different space. Because and by reading, of course, I mean something meaningful. I will not get into that debate as to what is meaningful and what is not. For me, literature, for example, is pretty meaningful. And when you read, you actually live through that particular time that the author is trying to put in terms of words, and you actually live through the experiences of the people, which are the protagonists and the characters that the author has created. So that is the second thing that you can do. I mean, first is writing, the second is this. And the third could be, even if you do not have people around you physically, you always have these communication devices. Pick up the phone and speak to that person who you have not spoken to for a very long time. And you'll be surprised that when you connect with people, all of those issues that you might have thought existed and were actually preventing you from calling up that person in the past, they all melt away. In the times of adversity, such as the times that we are facing today, people have a natural tendency of coming together, because we human beings, by virtue of all other animals, within a few days and some within a few minutes, become independent, which means they can walk on their own, they can look, they can do things on their own. Human beings are the only one who need nurture and who need caring for almost a year and a half before they can actually start walking. So therefore, collaborating with each other and being with each other comes naturally to us. It's built into our species. And therefore, you can always pick up the phone and speak to whoever that you wish to, and things will get better. Nothing works, write to me, and I'll try to give you some more suggestions.
Thank you, Himanshu. There is one more question. Before that, I'd like to request both of you, can we extend the time by 10 minutes? Is it okay to both of you? Because there are many questions. If you can allow, we can extend by 10 minutes. Hello?
Okay, hello.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, I can, that question number 8, I think I come to virtual world can be made real, because real world is real, belongs to us in real times, real terms. So how to bridge this gap? So I think, Dr. Naveen, you see virtual world. So for example, today, virtual classrooms, we are doing remote teaching. And even in physical classrooms or face-to-face classroom, probably, once the classes are over, we can take the students to the field trips or industry visit and all. So today, using augmented reality, AR, you can also, sitting in your home in front of your computer, you can still visit the factory, Maruti or something, Bharat Electronics Limited kind of companies you can visit, and you can also see what is happening in the actually Egypt. Are you really visiting the factory? The kind of feeling you get. So it is, even though it is virtual, but in reality you can see everything, each and every component, machinery, equipment, operator, you can see using the digital technology. Today's technology is so advanced, you can really, even though it is virtual, you can feel it because of because of this AI, augmented reality, virtual reality. Probably, your virtual assistant, instead of personal assistant, virtual assistants will be there. And apart from that, recently I read in a newspaper, MIT, one of the research laboratories, they have made such a software. If you touch it, you can see, and if you see it, you can feel. So basically, feel means you can actually realize. So this is the kind of technology advancing. This is the kind of disruption happening. So virtually boundary between virtual and real is going to close very soon. So this divide is there at present because we are just switching over one orbit to other from face to face to the remote. But the moment you go there, after sometimes once you are habitual, probably you don't find any difference, and probably you enjoy the virtual also.
Nimish Sharma ji has asked one question that focusing more on professional life makes you ambitious and make you pay more to be recognized, or focusing more on personal life makes you irresponsible towards your job, though it is very hard to maintain personal and professional life. Any comment on
I
professional?
don't think that, again, here when you talk about focusing more on professional life or focusing more on personal life, we are actually trying to quantify things. And Nimit, I don't think these can be really quantified. As I said, that all throughout, Professor Metri, Pankaj, and I, we've been talking about mindfulness. So, how mindful are you towards your professional life? How mindful are you towards your personal life? So long as you're doing justice to both, things will automatically get balanced. Don't try to look for balance. Balance will come automatically so long as you're mindful when you're doing both the things. And in that context, I'll very quickly respond to some of the other questions which have been asked to me. What I have said needs to be done all the time is one of the questions, or rather one of the statements. Absolutely, it has to be done all the time, not specifically during the times of COVID. It is simply that COVID has given us an opportunity to perhaps reflect more, and has given all of you an opportunity to also start questioning that whatever you have been doing, whatever we have been doing, is this the right thing to do, or we need to change things going ahead? And then another important question, I think, is how to be prepared post the pandemic. So we have to make exit strategies for all the organizations. So far as your individual business school or whatever, I'm sorry, whatever institution you come from, considering that you come from an academic institution, I think in your institution, you will have to be also open to living with a new reality. And those new realities could be physical distancing. So how are you going to maintain physical distancing in the classroom? How are you going to maintain sanitization in the classroom? How are you actually going to impose some of the rules and regulations which might come despite the pandemic getting over, because the after effects, or there could be a second wave or the third wave. So you have to be prepared with that. And at the same time, you also have to be prepared with the fact that you need to be very, very empathetic. So somebody asked me, what is needed, sympathy or empathy? Sympathy is never needed. Nobody needs our sympathy. What people need is empathy. In fact, what people need is slightly more than empathy, and that is compassion. And how empathy and compassion are different to me is, empathy is when you understand their position and then you feel the sorrow, you share their sorrow. But when you feel compassionate, not only do you feel their sorrow, but you also do something to mitigate their sorrow. And I think as a faculty, you will have to deal with this as well, that when students come back, they will have, possibly some of them may have had bad experiences. They may be under, they will be, in fact, under a lot of psychological stress, under a lot of pressure, and the world may have changed in certain ways. And therefore, as a faculty, you will have to deal not only with your world, but also with this changed world of the students who will probably be looking up to you for answers.
Thank you. Actually, there's a question from Colonel Rajiv Khatri. He's asking that he's posted in Nagaland in counter-insurgency operations. So his thanks to the panelists, and his question is that they should give some advice and strategies for serving soldiers who are in these challenging times. So any advice? Himanshu ji or Metri?
Yeah, Colonel Khatri, I have been extremely uh, that way is grateful, and I have been privileged to having spoken at the CDM, the College of Defense Management, as well as the Army War College Mahu, where I talk about people who are working in situations such as this. So, for example, in your case, and by your case I mean the armed forces, they possibly serve in such situations most of the time, depending on where your posting is. and therefore you are a permanent warrior, if I were to say so. Likewise, today we have a completely different set of warriors. So we have the doctors, the paramedic staff, the nurses, the ambulance drivers, the police personnel, who are the COVID warriors of today. In fact, even people from, say, Grofers or Zomato, who are bringing in your food, etc., at the cost of risking their own lives. And I like to see myself as a scholar warrior as well, because I believe that we do a lot of things at times, at least some of us, which makes us a warrior. Now, what you have to be, my only advice for the serving soldiers would be, once again, find out why are you there? And that question goes back to your identity. Are you there for the right reasons? Did you become a soldier for the right reason? And try to drive that thing into their head that they are fulfilling a larger purpose in life. You know, most people, they don't get motivated. Earlier we used to think that money motivates people. Later on we said that, oh, it's not money, it's a kind of job that motivates people. In fact, now when we're talking about something called engagement. And engagement is not merely about motivation, but it's also about alignment with one's own sense of purpose. That, look, this is the kind of a world that I wish to live in, and the purpose of my life is to create that world around me. Now, if you can engage your soldiers into these discussions, not really in an intellectual way, but more so in a way where they are trying to observe themselves, where they're trying to reflect on the higher purpose in life, and then try to align the higher purpose of life that they can think about with what they are doing currently in Nagaland, or for that matter, whichever border positions that they are in, that's going to help them in actually not just coming to terms, but feeling pride in whatever it is that they're doing, and knowing fully well that they're moving in the right direction. Plus, the rest of the country is solidly behind them. We may not be there sitting and standing shoulder to shoulder, but we are there with them, trying to help them in whatever possible ways that we can.
Okay, great. I think we'll just take two last questions and finish. And one very interesting question is from Asar Amin Khan. He's saying that me and my wife both are working from home, and we've got a 8-month daughter. The question is how to handle the baby and give 100% to work. I think you must enjoy with the baby. What do you say?
So I think it is both of them, husband and wife, both together, they have to decide how to balance it. Once they know the principles of balance, so both have to follow, and then they have to handle and enjoy, playing with baby as well as working with the company.
Yes, I think, this is where having a designated place, having a designated time for work, that works out. So like what Professor Metri said, if both of you decide between yourselves that this is your designated place and time when you're going to focus on work, the other partner takes care of the baby at that point of time, and vice versa. And at the same time, possibly, I do not have experience with a human baby, but I do have experience with my pet baby. One of the things that you can also try and do is try to enjoy whatever it is. So while one feeds the baby, the other should clean up after the baby pukes out everything that you have fed the baby. And if you can figure out these things together and start enjoying doing them together, you will realize that babies should not be much of a problem, and they're certainly not a problem in your work life. They're there to give you joy, and I think having a baby is one of the most blessed things to have.
Now, Disha is asking that if
Okay,
you
I
are a
can
single
see
mother.
questions coming in, Pankaj, but we need to wrap it up. Probably what you can do is, make a note of these questions and send it to Professor Metri and I. And
Sure.
if there's an email, we can probably respond through email. Or
Sure.
Professor Metri
Yes,
is
sir.
around, and then it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, it is a good idea.
I will probably need to leave.
Yeah, for me also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just maybe one last question we can take is Harsh Pandya, that like question that how did the COVID outbreak? The students are given online classes, employees are doing work, and they work. Okay, so what do you think that they're thinking that It's a new thing and no physical interaction. But anyway, I think that it is going to be the future. I think it is an opportunity to tune ourselves to this environment. You know what happened? Our students, when they went for the summer training, many hospitals and companies said that they would not like to carry on with the summer training. So what we have done, we have given our students research assignments. We have also given them online courses, and many of the students are also doing research and publishing with the faculty at this time. And then we thought that as we'll be getting some more freedom later on, maybe they can do a sort of a winter internship at a later time. So we also need to be very flexible in our approach and not having a very rigid opinion that it has to be a summer training at this time and like that. So what is happening in IIM Indore, Himanshu? Are the students doing the summer training or even in IIM Trichy?
I think you see here this online. You see some courses. I am sure you can do online very well, remote, where you don't need much of physical proximity and non-verbal communication. But some of the courses where innovative problem solving and where mentoring kind of things are there, so there basically a classroom teaching face to face will be works better. So future belongs to blended learning, not only online, not only face to face. A blended learning will solve all kinds of problem, and we can achieve the balance. Again, work life balance is a definition. Each one of us will be having a different definition, and how to fit it to that using the agility and flexibility available, one can do it. But future is going to be blended learning, and one basket of courses will be good for the campus classes, and another basket even they are better only online. Even campus, if you do, they are not. So that is what going to be the future.
Okay, so with this note, we would like to conclude this webinar, and the questions which are not answered will be shared with all the panelists, and we'll try to give answers to the students and the attendees. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Himanshu ji and Metri ji for your very valuable time, and it was such a wonderful presentation by both of you. So thank you very much.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure, Pankaj. And such a delight being with both of you again.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Himanshu and Pankaj.